Earlier this year, Sony finally unveiled Concord, their new live service hero shooter. This has been a company-wide initiative to have more live service games. They want to diversify their portfolio. That was something that Jim Ryan, before he left Sony, that was one of his ultimate goals. That's why we've seen Sony making a lot more investments into the live service arena. Bungie investment, that's a great example of, although that the success of that has been, let's just say, it's been very questionable, especially with a lot of the chaos that's been happening at Bungie as of late. There was also Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer standalone thing, Last of Us Online, that had ultimately ended up being a giant failure. Helldivers 2, though, that was a giant success story earlier on this year. As of late, though, not so much, and Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot with some of the controversial decisions that they made earlier this year in regards to account linking and such. So here we have another live service from Sony, and you would think that they've maybe learned their lessons from this entire industry, which has been really struggling with making a perfect live service, and there really is no concrete formula with that. You just need to have something that really stands out on its own. And the problem with this gaming industry and a lot of these AAA game publishers, they just don't understand that. So when Sony revealed some of the gameplay, it immediately sparked a lot of concerns because, I mean, everybody immediately saw the problem with this. It was a generic hero shooter with no clear identity. As this article even brings up here, PlayStation's Concord is facing backlash from fans due to the oversaturation of the hero shooter genre and a lack of unique appeal. That was months ago. The developers at Firewalk had time to try to, convince people that wasn't the case. It was actually a unique shooter. But the problem is that we have this knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's exactly what this is. The beta that happened this summer that nobody at all played, it confirmed that. And here we are on launch day, and this is an absolute disaster. This is what you have right now, just a couple of hours into launch. You have less than 500 players. That is as bad as it gets. Just to compare, Suicide Squad, another controversial, terrible game that launched earlier this year with really no appeal, it had like double the players at least. And this is, again, a hero shooter that costs $40, and I think that was their big mistake with all of the competition in the hero shooter market. There is no market for a paid experience like this, especially one with no unique identity and no unique gameplay. Because say what you want, but this is very much Overwatch with a skin. And yes, there are some unique abilities, some unique stuff, but it also has some problems. And the reviews that are coming in right now kind of reflect that this is just not worth anybody's money at this point. Again, there's only a couple of reviews here, but if you're getting a 63 out of 100 from critics and not one of them recommending it so far, that's terrible. And these are some of the comments that are coming from them. Hobby Consola saying, Concord presents great gameplay as a first-person shooter while taking us back to similar times with a traditional, albeit sparse, progression system. Unfortunately, this lack of personality means that it fails to capture the attention it should deserve in a genre where there are already too many games. Exactly my point, and the point that a lot of people have been saying for months. And for a game that they've been working on for years, you would think that they would, have known that. And then another review saying those want to roll the dice on Concord will find an excellent FPS full of exciting battles, intense battles, and eye-popping visuals. I meant full of exciting abilities. The game's character designs, premium price point, and general lack of interest from the public may make it so Concord never really gets a chance, and that is exactly what's happening right now. And then Digital Trend saying Concord isn't a poor multiplayer offering by any means, and I agree with that sentiment. I actually don't think this is that bad. It's just not good enough in a market with so many other options that are free to play. And then another review, Concord has a few interesting ideas, but its live service trappings, lackluster game design, mediocre level design keeps it from being truly great. Concord disappointed me as a service game sold at almost full, despite the lack of originality in the gameplay. Exactly. And just to reflect those massive Steam numbers, we can actually go to the Steam page and see that there's 192 reviews. That's it. And yeah, it's mostly positive. So yeah, 79%. Great job, I guess, everybody involved. And I do believe this is a new thing PlayStation just started to do, but yeah, you can review games now. Maybe this has been something on for a while, but as you can see, 2.72 stars out of 5 with over 7,000 ratings. I think some of this is back to the beta, I believe. Don't take my word at that. But as you can see, mostly 1 reviews, almost 50% of them are 1, and Yeah, not pretty for a new release like this. To make all of this worse, we have an actual developer who worked on this having a full-on fucking meltdown about this game. They talked about their experience, they worked on the game, they're happy about it, and then they started hiding replies to people, bringing up the fact that nobody cares about this. Pay me $8 to unhide your tweet. It's bizarre that they're even interacting with these individuals. Like, yeah, let's see, nobody is buying and paying for it. Thank you for this dog oh my gosh, that's so rude, so mean. But I mean, to be fair, this is the same individual. He deleted this comment, but I want to point this out. Again, this is the same tweet that we just went over. This is the reply that he deleted. Somebody said, "I'm so sorry, this has to be your first. I do not believe it is you or any of the other devs' fault that this game has performed so poorly. I can tell that a lot of effort was put into completing this game. It just came at the wrong time and genre." I agree with that. They said, I don't really care. It was a huge labor from a lot of insanely talented people making an awesome game. Why would I care about a bunch of talentless freaks hating on it? What a fucking horrible thing to say. Oh my god, I'm sure having fun playing it and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Well, you might be trading it soon when those fucking servers get shut down because nobody gives a shit about this. And yeah, it is worth mentioning. They spent 8 years on this, 8 years developing this, right alongside Overwatch, the original Overwatch in 2016, and they didn't learn any of the lessons that this industry has provided over that span of time. It just keeps on happening. Obviously, it's not limited to this hero shooter genre, but the live service trappings, these developers, these AAA developers spending hundreds of millions of dollars just keep on going down this path. And I understand a little bit why with this game. They probably spent over $100 million, probably a giant unrealistic budget, and they're trying to make it back because they feel they have to charge that $40. But this isn't the path forward with so much competition on the market from much better developers that are experienced in this type of stuff, whether that be from Blizzard, Riot Games, Valve, and then we have the Marvel Rivals coming later this year as well. There's just many examples, and there's other smaller ones I'm not even thinking of at the moment. And Grum's Mark Kern, former developer at Blizzard, controversial figure at gaming circles. I've had a lot of issues with some of the things he's said. But yeah, this is rather interesting, and I actually kind of believe it after what I've played of and what I've seen of the characters. This was apparently a while ago. He said, PlayStation-owned studio Firewalks has heard your complaints about Concord and ignored them. Sources tell me internal emails show the Concord team is shrugging off the criticism of the characters as white noise and dismissing it very much in their own bubble. And again, based on what I've played, based on the fact that there was no changes at all to any of this, I believe it. I believe that this team doubled down thinking that they were going to be able to, I guess, get past this, but this is a major part of the game. This is a major criticism that I guess they just ignored. And based on that last developer we just talked about and his stupid reaction, I fully believe that this is probably true. Paul Tassi, infamous for his coverage of live service games for Forbes, says going pro in Concord. But yeah, it's cooked. I'm sorry. I really, really feel for the devs here. This is going to be very, very bad quickly. Looking at these initial numbers so far, it's making Suicide Squad look like a smash hit. It's fine. It blends Overwatch, Valorant, and Destiny, a lot of Destiny, but I cannot see it pulling anyone away from their main shooter at all. And the $40 price is just why. Spot on in my opinion. And again, it's worth mentioning, this was today. Deadlock is finally, it's been announced, it's still in early development. People are allowed to stream and play it now. They did this on the launch day of Concord, which feels like almost a major FU to Sony and Firewalk. I'm sure Valve doesn't actually give a shit because they saw the original, I mean, they saw these numbers and said, who cares? But it's still funny timing in my opinion. Then we got Marvel's Rivals again. This is coming December 6th, all heroes free to play. And this is what a lot of people are going to be latching on to. And you get iconic heroes, Thor, Spider-Man, Venom and all of that, Iron Man. People are going to be interested in heroes, a universe that they actually care about. And then obviously, say what you will, but you still have Overwatch 2, which has been dominating this market for years. Despite the hiccups and issues that Blizzard has run into, it's still going somewhat strong. We'll see if, Deadlock can pull some of those players. But say what you want, there is no market. There's nothing really selling Concord except a massive paywall, which just makes it even worse because nobody's even going to give this game a chance. And I think that's the takeaway everybody has right now. Even if the gameplay is just decent, not good enough. The thing is, none of these characters are established. I can just mute this really fast. There's nothing about these characters that you know about or interested in. It feels like they just have this to try to build some sort of interest in these characters, but there's nothing interesting about this universe. It's just knockoff Guardians of the Galaxy. There's another cutscene like this that starts off beforehand. It's the same thing. It just throws them in there. I guess they're free rangers. They pretty much just like, there's nothing at all that I can even latch onto of interest. They're trying to make this sophisticated, but it's just very, very dull. Wow. Especially since I don't know anything about these characters, how they even came to be, how they came together, and...
Now let's establish roots, glance.
They're trying to go for Overwatch, but I don't know. It baffles me. And these are the free gunner options that we have at our disposal. I do think that in a hero shooter, it matters for your characters. The whole universe needs to be interesting. Immediately, Concord came off when its first trailers were... It just didn't look. It's got this diverse lineup of very uninteresting personalities. And again, when you have Overwatch already exists, you have other hero shooters on the way which have giant audiences, you kind of have to be doing a lot more than just this. And obviously we've seen people mocking the look of some of these characters, and they look awful. I think the one game that reminds me of all of these characters, it's Bleeding Edge, and I don't think many people remember that game because it kind of quickly came and went, and I think that was developed, was it Ninja Theory or something? I don't remember, but it was a Microsoft hero shooter, and it didn't last long. But yeah, you got your diverse lineup of random characters. I'm not really, I mean, the look of the characters is just, there's just nothing to really latch on to with interest, and that's really my takeaway with this entire experience. I'd argue that a lot of these characters are just very boring in their demeanor and how they look, and again, when you have games like Overwatch that already exist, Deadlock's on the way, Marvel's Rivals releases later on this year, you can't be this mediocre. And again, this is not free to play. This cost $40. There's a reason why people don't want to cough up cash for something like this. And I understand that a lot of people in the gaming sphere are saying that we need to have multiplayer games that cost money, that are giving all this content and not going through the free-to-play monetization, battle passes and all that, the microtransaction stores, and I understand the perspective. But this is not the answer. My short time with Concord can be summarized as... it's just all right. And I don't think all right is enough in this market, especially when you have free-to-play options available. I've already said as much about Overwatch in the past that has dominated the hero shooter market for years. Deadlock just surprise released today. We talked about that earlier on in the video. Marvel's Rivals is set to be coming in December. You cannot afford to be mediocre, and that is exactly what Concord is. The gameplay it's fun enough. I mean, the heroes, their abilities and such, they're cool, but there are issues here. The gunplay it's satisfying enough, I guess. The map design I actually think is pretty decent, but the movement is just atrociously slow on a lot of the characters that I've played as. And the game modes that you have available, I guess they're fine. I mean, as somebody who has been spending a lot of my adult life playing Call of Duty, you have your kill confirmed, you have your domination, TDM, stuff like that. There's nothing too, I guess you could say, unique about this experience, and I think that's the big takeaway with Concord. If you're going to be charging people $40, there needs to be something that brings people in that you don't get with Overwatch, you don't get with Deadlock and the other hero shooters on the market that I'm not even mentioning, because some of these have existed for years, and a lot of the problems and issues I have with Concord, it feels like there's a free-to-play option available. And if I did need to bring up anything that is unique about Concord, it is the Galactic Guide, a unique way of telling lore. As you progress through the game, more lore is provided, but the problem with this is that nobody cares and nobody will. And the big thing I've seen other people arguing is that Concord is a new idea, and we should be supporting new ideas like this. We should be supporting monetization that isn't necessarily free to play. This is a premium experience. Everything is going to be coming to you. You don't have to invest into a battle pass. But the problem is you still have to give that $40 right away, and that is a major paywall for a lot of people. And as you can see, based on the activity I'm seeing on the PlayStation 5, looks like a lot of people aren't jumping in for that. And yeah, I talked about it a second ago, but the servers being slow, not getting any activity, day one, I am having more of those problems. Here's a great example of that. It's okay, the game's gonna eventually get there with the matchmaking. This is so embarrassing for a day one launch. Like, I don't personally believe this is server related. I genuinely think there's just no interest at all in this game. Holy crap. Update, still waiting. I think we're gonna have to cancel this. Hopefully this will help. There we go. Hey, it only took 40 seconds. Holy crap. I did want to check out this other rivalry mode, which I guess is no respawns and such, but yeah, I guess there's nobody playing the game, so guess that ain't gonna happen. Please understand, I am not exaggerating the fact that this game is just dead already, day one. Okay, I am curious if this maybe resets at 5 minutes. Does it do anything, or does it just continue? Okay. Well, so is there saving, Concord? I do believe there is a path forward for Sony to turn this around, but you have to immediately go free to play, and I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, this is a new live service project for them. They had massive success earlier this year with Helldivers 2, and for some reason, they just don't understand this medium, especially with a hero shooter. I mean, everybody knew that this is exactly what was going to happen. It's not very often that you just know a game's going to fail, but there's always that once in a blue moon, there's that specific game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We all knew nobody was going to be jumping on that live service turd earlier this year. And that's exactly what happened. People just weren't interested in it. And with this, once we saw those first trailers, the first gameplay with those unappealing characters in the universe that nobody is invested into, I just knew that Concord was going to bomb. And then the open beta happened this summer, and again, there was just no interest at all with that. There was a couple of dozen players, and here we are on launch day, and the game can't even break 700 fucking players on Steam. That is atrocious. That is embarrassing. And especially for a game that's been worked on for years, they should have known mid-development to turn things a little bit, different, but they've just continued down this road of inevitable failure, and that's where we're at right now. The game modes and everything that's supposed to be coming in the future, I just feel like eventually it's going to be, well, we're shutting things down in a couple of months, because I just don't see a path forward with this $40 paywall unless they immediately go free to play, just refund everybody and try to do some sort of cosmetic microtransactions in the future. Maybe they can help turn it around, but what they're doing right now, it's a recipe for disaster, and that's what this launch has been, an absolute disaster, total disaster, and yet another embarrassment for Sony, who just for some reason cannot get into the live service arena with any bit of success. As a non-Destiny player, I have seen a lot of comparisons people have been making between Concord and Destiny's gameplay, some saying that Concord is more comparable to Destiny's PvP, which is different indeed than most of the other hero shooters on the market, which maybe that was what Firewalk Studios was going for, but it clearly has not worked and it has not clicked. Anyway, have you checked out Concord? Are you planning to? Let me know down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value, and consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.